Sorry, I thought my mic was off then, but it is not. So, welcome everybody to round 4 of the Formula 2 series. We are live from the Nurburgring. So, headphones here. Sorry, I'm just adjusting my settings to make sure I can hear Spud. Yeah, so we're at round 4 of the Trackstars Formula 2 Championship. I do apologise for not having some streams up. I have had some personal issues, but we are back and we are live. And me and my fellow commentators, Spud, are both a little bit under the weather there, so don't don't judge us with if we make a few mistakes or we sound a little bit croaky. But welcome to my fellow commentator, as always, Mr. Spudley.
Oh, if my throat clears up, I might be able to say good evening to you, DJ. But it's a little bit hard to talk a little bit, but I'll do my best. Well, welcome everybody to round 4 of the German Grand Prix for the Trackstars Formula 2 Championship. It has been a while since DJ and myself have been able to do commentary, but we are back live on the Trackstars Racing Series YouTube channel. So if you haven't subscribed already, please subscribe and do follow us for more Formula 2 action, as well as the main series Formula Track Stars that'll be coming up at 8 o'clock Australian Eastern Standard Time in a few hours' time. But I will say, DJ, looking outside the commentary box, that weather is constant and it is pouring down with rain.
Yeah, so by the looks of it, man, on my end here too, from where I'm sitting next to you, if I look out there, left, right, up, down, it is wet. As they say, what was it in the introduction video? It was, by the looks of it, if the road is wet, it is wet.
Yeah, exactly. And you can see a little bit of a breeze coming in, so that it's like looks like a bit of a southerly breeze with these cars and with the winds outside. Looks like about maybe 4 kilometers of wind. But we'll have a look and see. But in the meantime, just before these boys get ready, thanks to our series admin in It's Racing German Stalets, he has provided us with another a circuit map of this beautiful Nurburgring GP circuit in Germany. So once we get that up, we will take it away and we'll describe our viewers of what this track is like. 7.7 kilometers for a downhill stretch going into the Castrol S off to that turn 1. This is where it gets really crucial for drivers to get their braking points right, because in the wet you could brake a little bit too late and you plow into the side of the car. Brake too early, someone behind you is going to get a snap oversteer and aquaplane at the end of turn 1. But going through the Mercedes-Benz arenas, turns 3, 4, turns 2, 3, and 4, and then coming into this first sector as they come in towards turn 6 and turn 7 forward curve. So it's a long stretch, a little bit of a breather. Try to spot your braking marks, because there are some puddles on the outside there. And then going into turn 7 here, we're approaching about 2 kilometers off the circuit, and then going into this very opportunistic moment or part of the track where we can actually see overtakes made, DJ. So look out for a few drivers from the back of the grid who might not have a good qualifying, make some good moves down there as they approach through the Michael Schumacher S's. Is flat in dry conditions, but in wet, these guys will be very sketchy when it comes to the end of the Schumacher S's. I've done some practice laps, and I'll tell you, it is not easy to negotiate that Michael Schumacher S. And then into turn 11 to the Kumo curve, and then the bit curve, turns 11 and 12. Another important sequence of corners just to get the traction down, and then just try and go nice and fast through here. It is flat through this fast right-hand kink here to turns 13, but you will see the inside curving full of water, so you'll see some drivers taking a bit of a wider line into turns 13. And then this is the most important part of the track, this chicane that not a very handy chicane, because it is very tight, so some drivers will go a little bit too deep. And then rounding up the final corner in turn 16 to complete your lap. And I will say, DJ, these guys have got a handful this evening.
Yeah, definitely, man. It looks to be like it'll be a bit of a hand. It's a handful in the wet, a handful in the dry for me, but it looks to be a handful in the wet. So I yeah, I'm not looking forward to our race later this evening. But as we kick off qualifying, it has started. Timer is on. They've got 8 minutes 52 to go. So they have started qualifying. It's gone green. So we'll wait 10 minutes and see how it goes.
So this is the part of the track where, as I said, drivers will start to have a little bit of a feel of what the car does and how the car reacts as they go onto the track for the first time with over 8 minutes to go. As we see Sirik here in the MSR VL Racing team, who will be also making his debut later in the evening in the main Formula Track Stars series, replacing Budsy 76 to be alongside myself in the main series championship for Mash Buds Racing, with Silent 96 leading the championship in the Formula 2 standings in second there, right behind Cylon, and in tied for second, actually, DJ, is actually Sirik and Dark 74. But I've had a word with Sirik, and he says it's going to be his last round until Suzuka. But I said to him, mate, if he had a full-time gig in formulas, who would have known? Who would know where he would end up come the end of round 11?
Yeah, certainly. I don't put it past Sirik at all, man. He's a very discreet but very fast driver, and you actually flogged it from us because I was going to sign him for It's Racing for this year, but you did flog him from us, so that was a bit unfortunate. But yeah, he's definitely you call him a bit of a silent assassin there, but you can see how wet this track is. That's incredible. He's driving through some puddles. He's missing a couple of apexes, but I guess that's the joy of wet racing, eh? And thankfully there's the puddles there. Look at that. That's just incredible. But yeah, thankfully for GT7 they have added wet weather racing for some other tracks, so that's a bit thankful. So I'll be happy to race Red Bull later and Spa in variable weather, so we can have dry and wet. So it'll be a very up and down race and stuff like that. So it's going to certainly flip the championship on a bit of a head there as he misses another apex there. So Sirik looks like he might not have that thing dialed in just yet, but we'll wait and see when those tyres come up to temperature. We have 6 minutes 40 seconds to go, so they'll I don't say get about 4 laps in total in qualifying, so it's going to be a pretty short qualifying session.
Yeah, and as we go from our pre-qualifying lobby that we had just over an hour ago, we had Devlin Calypso, or DRE_Calypso. He scored himself a 2-minute 2.0. So far, it was the fastest of the time, and Nightwalker was right behind him with a .297, so only about separating themselves by just a bit over 2:10. So watch out for those guys to make a charge towards the front in the qualifying. But as we come up to the end of the lap here, we're going to have a look back at Sirik and see where his lap time stands amongst the rest of the field. He looks like Silence closed up right up amongst him, so looks like Sirik hasn't had a really good lap here, but once we see that timer go through, it is so far it's a 2-minute 1.8, and then we see Xylon 96 right behind with 2-minute 1.9. So far so good for Sirik, with Sirik, Xylon and Darks coming through with a 2-minute 2.9. And as we said, it's only early days for the MSR boys, but so far we see Lunacy pop up for the Project 1 racing team in first. We'll also see him in main series Formula Racing later this evening in the number 41, replacing Speedy Tyres. As we see the drivers coming through, we've still got Devlin or Calypso in fifth. I keep calling him Devlin like his old username. And then we see Slappers, Tormentor, and then Gordic 69 rounding up the top 8. But so far it's only early stages, DJ. And you know that the more running you get with these cars, the more confident you get with your braking zones, and you start to find time.
Yeah, I mean, in the dry, these things you can absolutely wring the neck out of them, but in the wet, they've got that much power. Trying to put it to the ground with such little weight, it's definitely definitely something to handle, and then as well add puddles and stuff like that. So it's definitely something that you'd have to get your head around and change your braking zones and allow for other drivers braking a little bit early because they might not be as confident. So that's something we have had a little bit of a struggle with some drivers this year. At the moment we have had some incidents with some rear end contact and stuff like that, but so far so good. We haven't had overly too many reports that we've had to kind of make a report on with contact and racing, so they've definitely stepped up their game from last year. So that's good to see.
Yeah, absolutely. And obviously these guys are just coming through, finishing their laps. As we see down the back there, Isuzu Brian 86, a latecomer in the championship. And then we see a couple of new drivers in. One of the stars in round 3 racing was this guy, Rusty Nut 75, that he gained so much attention from team boss in RoboSport Racing to actually join his team, as well as Fly Balding right behind. So those boys are sitting nice and high up in 6th and 7th, so putting on a good show for RoboSport Racing, a good signing for RoboSport, and those guys occupying the top 8 of the standings. But as we see sorry, not Silent, Dark 74 actually go fastest with a 2-minute .7 there, so he's come through with a nice time over his teammates and over Lunacy, .7 on Lunacy. So like I said, the more time you find on this track, the quicker you're going to get, and the higher up you're going to get when it comes to the end of the session. So I don't think we've got long to go. We've probably got ourselves about maybe 4 minutes of qualifying to go. But so far, we see an MSR Steel City first, with Lunacy for Project 1 in second, then Xylon in third, and then Cyric fourth, and Devil and Calypso in the top 5. We also see a late inclusion in Ando 787 for the WTCC, partnering alongside Slappers Mate 117. So good to see the WTCC boys join us as a team between Ando 787 and Slappers Mate occupying 6th and 7th. And as I said, we have Rusty Nuts in 8th place, rounding up the top 8. But still, not long to go until the end of this qualifying. These boys will just be trying to make sure they can find some time, find the grip to increase their positionings.
Oh yeah, sorry, there's a bit of a yawning there. I'm still recovering from sleep after the 6 hour yesterday. But yeah, it's we got 2 minutes 10 to go, so it's not long left. So the guys will probably get in maybe one more lap if they're close to the line. Unless they've just started their lap. But this is another person we haven't seen on the grid for a very, very, very long time. We've got Mr. Ando 787, so he's back on the grid, and he's one person you never want to underestimate.
No, absolutely not. And he's a guy that can just come out of nowhere and just put in a smashing time. But unfortunately, he was a little bit hampered in his pre-qualifying. Never got a really good time in his pre-qualifying by Lucas. But we've only had 8 pre-qualifiers and 7 main series drivers come in, so we brought in the top 8 from pre-qualifying. They just merged into the main series, so that's good for those guys to get a taste and experience in main series F2. But Ando 787, with only about a minute and a half to go, he'll need to improve his time to be anywhere near the likes of Dargs and Xylon and Lunacy in the top 3.
Yeah, certainly, but it looks like Lunacy here has closed into Dargs there with a 2 minutes .9, so he's closed that .7 gap. Same as Xylon, he's done a 2:01 flat, so these top 3 will certainly be ones to watch out for in the race, because obviously being in the rain, one little tiny mistake and it can be all game over there.
Absolutely right. So see in the chat, we see our old mate Woodsy calling you an old fart just to make sure you're awake after your performance in the 6 hour, and then we see Wesley Jordek saying it's racing better than everyone else. I'm not so sure, mate. I mean, if you look at the screen so far, it's an MSR 1, 3, and 4. So it's looking good for us as we see Nightwalker and the WRT Motorsport entry climb up into 6th place there. So he put in a last-minute lap to move himself up into the top 6. This was a little bit of a quiet start to the season for Nightwalker, especially when he made his main series debut, as he's trying to wrangle that car and just find traction. He can't find it, but it looks like he's kind of clicked in with the car as we see him go around and go full 360 there, so that's his qualifying over. But Nightwalker's slowly starting to get a bit more confident in these Super Formula cars, so we can see the car ahead of him in Rugworth have a bit of a spin as well, so very slippery. I think the track is getting a little bit heavier, DJ. I'm going to hear it in the commentary box that the rain is starting to pelt down, and it doesn't look like there's any sign of it slowing down at all.
Yeah, no, mate. I'm right next to you. My alarm won't turn off. There we go. It's not slowing down at all. And from looking at the weather, the weather map on my end, it's definitely not going away anytime soon. It looks like it's stuck in until after our race.
So it looks like it's a very wet German Grand Prix that we have this evening. But as we see, Lunacy actually snatch provisional pole position ahead of Dark 74, so with a 159.6, a nice solid lap there for Lunacy. Is he the driver that's going to break the duck and stop an MSR claiming victory here? But as we see, Lunacy on pole so far with Dark 74 in 2nd place, Silent 96 in 3rd, Cyric in 4th, Devil and Calypso. I mean, we know how much Devlin has improved over the season, DJ, but for him to be up in 5th place at the end of it all, it's pretty amazing how far he's come. The journey that we've seen from Calypso has been astonishing, and with performances like this being in the top 5, it's incredible.
Yeah, he's definitely impressing me as well. Considering last year, obviously he was still getting his head around all that kind of stuff and league racing and whatnot. Looks like he's put his head down in the off season and pulled some speed out of God knows where.
And he set a 2:01 as his fastest lap there, so that's only like 3/10 behind Sirik and a full second and 1.1 ahead of Slapper's mate 117, and guys like Nightwalker and Endo, those guys that you would think they're main series caliber drivers, but he's ahead of them, especially in this wet and soaking German Grand Prix. It's incredible performance by him.
Yeah, and that's actually bumped Ando down to 7th as well. So when Lunacy goes past Sector 1 and he doesn't put it in the wall, we'll go green. So they'll be going around these for 19 laps in the wet, and we'll wait and see how they go.
Yeah, absolutely, and he's pulled a full second over Dark 74, so it's a nice qualifying there for Lunacy. I think that's his first pole position. Actually, I'm not so sure who got pole in the previous races because we didn't have a stream and I wasn't advised of who scored pole. But if that's the case, it's Lunacy on pole position, ahead of Dark 74, Cylon in 3rd, Sirik in 4th, and Devlin in 5th. As we get the race underway, ladies and gentlemen, we are about to start round 4 of the Trackstars Formula 2 Championships in only a couple seconds' time.
Yeah, as we got Wesley in there. I do believe that's Deadpool. I think if my memory serves me correctly.
That is Deadpool.
Yeah, so he's saying he's NSX was unstoppable until he got ballast. We've got Kylie Hosking in here too, so I do believe that is Sirik's wife. So welcome, and we'll keep an eye on the lovely hubby here.
We see those 4 red lights gone, and it's lights out, green flag racing, and everyone's just trying to squirrel their cars. We can see Lunacy having a poor start there, and Darks has gone through with Cylon 96 in 7th place. These guys have to be really careful when it comes to the braking zone. It looks like it's been managed okay. We scroll down through the back. Hopefully there's no incidents plagued at the back there. As we saw Devlin go around there, he's still going around, but he's down into last place, starting from 15. So that's an unfortunate end to what was a great qualifying for Devlin. But thankfully for these guys, it's only light damage here. So for Devlin to be down in 15th, we'll hopefully see a charge from him so far. But so far we have an MSR 1, 2, and 3 with Dark 774 leading the way ahead of his teammate, a more experienced teammate in Cylon 96 in 2nd, and Sirik in 3rd place, and Lunacy from pole to 4th place. That is an unfortunate start for him. He just got so much wheel spin, DJ, and just couldn't get it off the line.
Yeah,
couldn't get it off the line.
He's dropped down here to 4th, but I need to adjust my program here because by the looks of it, I can't get any game volume through. So just bear with me for 2 seconds.
Oh, I tell you get that sorted out. We saw Sirik there go a little bit too wide there on the Dunlop curve, and he lost a lot of positions there with now his teammate in Rugworth in the VL Racing Camp, and he also goes spinning wide. So this is not a start for the MSR VL boys that they wanted, and Rugworth has gone off into the grass, and this is a horrible start for these boys for the MSR VL Racing Camp, with Sirik down in 8th and Rugworth all the way down plumb last in 15th place. But unfortunately for him, it's only the first lap, and there's only about 18 more laps to go, DJ, so anything can happen. There could be a dry line forming, there could be some drivers getting a little bit more confident as the laps go by, but it's still Dark 74 leading his teammate in Cylon, and Cylon plans to go around the outside of Dark 74. He can't do it. Does he do a switchback? He's trying to get the switchback, but there's no traction. But at the end of lap 1, it is Dark 74, 2nd in the championship, ahead of Cylon 96, and Lunacy in 3rd place with Slappers in 4th, and Ando in the top 5.
Yeah, it's definitely Lunacy's got. Oh, he goes for a dive here on Xylon. Be careful there, man. It's wet. Just take it easy. Oh, he spins. That's not what Lunacy wanted after that pole position there. Oh, Gordok as well, having a bit of a struggle.
Gordok's come through into 6th place. I think he started outside the top 10, so that's a nice recovery there. But for Lunacy, that is so unlucky there. I feel like when you start to make an inside move, especially to turn 1, that's where all the puddles are. And you go too much on the power, that car goes spinning around. And for Lunacy, he got caught in the end of that. As you see at the background there, cars going left, right, front and centre. We saw, I think, a WRT car, yes, in Nightwalker go through, and has just been a shocking run here for Nightwalker. He's not enjoying the wet so far.
No, it definitely doesn't look like he's winning. Let's see if I can jump in here, because can't change camera. Fantastic. This game is good. I hate it. But it won't let me change camera. This is a good game. Oh well, looks like we're staying in cinematic camp. Yes, that turn 1 is very lethal there inside. Not only in the wet, but also in the dry. You can put the power down too early and you'll be zipping around. But you'd be a pretty happy team boss there, because you currently got P1, 2, it's 1 and 2 at the moment. So
yeah, so I'm pretty happy with what the boys are going so far in 1st and 2nd. But these guys know they're in the championship. But they've got the team in the WTCC entries, and Slappers mate in 3rd and Ando in 4th. So Slappers has slowly been chipping away in the championship, been stuck in a few pre-qualifyings, but he's obviously shown up, and he's actually moved himself up into the top 8 of the championship. This is great performance there. As we see Rusty Nuts in the Robo Sport Camp, unfortunately go a little bit too wide and a little bit too throttle happy there. So unfortunately for him, he drops down to 8th place. So I won't be surprised if we actually see any of the front runners do something similar to what Rusty Nuts and a few of the other drivers are doing, because they've only got about 17 more laps of racing, and I don't think we're going to have a 17 laps of just straight racing.
no, definitely not. And if my memory serves me correctly, the F2 guys have actually never raced in the rain at all.
No, this is the first time that the F2 boys are actually racing in the wet. That's exactly right. I've only seen them race in TS2 in the touring cars, but never in the Formula cars. So for some drivers, it is a first. That's right.
Yeah, and obviously going from a touring car to a Formula is definitely different. But it's certainly something different. So we'll have to wait and see what happens here. But looks like Doug's on a bit of a purple lap here, so he might have settled into his rhythm there, and he'll be trying to set some quick laps.
Yeah, so unfortunately for those boys at the back in Rugworth and Nightwalker, it doesn't look like their races are over, but there's got a long way to go. But as we see, a big shout out for some good performance out there, some movers and shakers. We see Gordok 69 from starting outside the top 10 into 5th place, and this is a good showing for WT Motorsports boss in Warpath 360, but he's just lost a place to Lunacy after running a little bit too wide. And then Cyric goes through as we see a yellow flag somewhere. Oh no, looks like Cylon looks like he had a bit of an incident there, so he's actually dropped down to 3rd place. So whatever it was, and he's also gone off again. So Cylon 96 is going from 2nd place into 4th place, and was about to lose a position to Lunacy. But as I say that, Lunacy has gone spearing off as well. So this is not a straightforward race, like I said, DJ. And everyone is going off. I think that's like 3 times. And we see Ando 787. What is going on with our boys this evening? This is crazy. And another one going drifting sideways. We've got Tormentor in 9th. And then we have so many people drifting. They are not liking these conditions whatsoever. But so far we can see drivers like Dark 74, who is, like I said, 2nd place in the championship. This is going to give him a massive confidence boost if he can keep the car straight for the next 15 laps. Because if he keeps that car where he wants it, because he's been, actually in the last round, he actually stood on the podium. So every race that Dark 74 has raced so far has always been on the podium. And last round, Solo 96 had an unfortunate end, finishing in P14 in Croatia. So that's definitely helped Dark's quest for a championship. But any more positions that Silent loses is Dark's gain come the end of round 4, I guess.
Yeah, and I think Zolan is very lucky there that we had, I think, 4 or 5 cars speed. I couldn't keep up with it because we can't really the keyboard shortcuts. He runs really wide there, just keeps it off that white painted line, and as you know as well as myself, those white painted lines are definitely not your friend anyway, same as those red strips.
No, exactly right. It's like whether these guys have to try and avoid, as we see Lunacy go tail happy there, just luckily caught that there. Driving is getting some 3-second penalties. I'm not so sure if they can actually go on the pit or they make some contact, because I know how that really works. But yeah, like, I mean, some drivers are trying to take a bit of a high line, like trying to take the old go-kart line, especially down in Dunlop Curve where Tormentor's coming through now. I guess people are trying to take a wider line to maybe think that there is a bit of a drier patch, because the inside part of the corner is where it's at its most dampest point in the track. As we see Lunacy trying to recover through. He's so fortunate to actually be dropped down to as low as 5th place. We see Silent 96 again. That's 2 laps in a row that Silent's lost it at the chicane there, and it's just not boding him well. As we see Rusty Nuts come through as well in 8th, and my goodness, this is not straight up racing for our boys this evening. But for one person so far, or for 2 people actually, it's actually Dark 74 and Slappers Mate 117, both are so far incident free and hopefully respected positions in 1st and 2nd place, with Sirik just hanging on in 3rd place.
Yeah, it looks like Sirik's kind of got his head down a little bit more, but I'll tell you what, Dargs has definitely been the winner out of this yet. But there's, what are we looking at, 14 laps to go, 15 laps to go. It's not over yet, mate. It's been 5 laps and we've had at least 10 to 15 position changes, so...
Thankfully I'm not a stat man, and I don't have to do all the positions gained and lost and who led what lap and who was where. Thankfully I don't have to do that kind of job. So otherwise that would be a nightmare to be Susie Bryan at the end of the Mercedes Arena, just having a bit of an off. And some of our drivers here, you can tell some of the drivers are just not liking these conditions whatsoever, but we do throw the challenge to our drivers, especially now for the next round, that we will be throwing in some variable weather at, I believe it's the Red Bull Ring for the next round. So these guys have to try to adapt and get themselves a little bit more confident in these conditions, because the next round it will be variable, and then we could see either a wet start or we could see a dry start that goes to wet.
Yeah, or it could start wet, go dry, and then finish wet, or start dry, go wet, then finish dry. Who knows? We'll make that call. But from what I've heard from the little weathermen over at Austria, I do believe Adam's in Belgium over at Spa at the moment. He's given us a little bit of inside info that when he was way over there, he has told us that there's a little bit of range of expectations. So these guys might need to do a bit of practicing, because they're going to be some variable weather. Wait and see.
Absolutely, and as we see, like I said, we're seeing some top performance here, DJ. We see, obviously, like I said, Gorda putting himself in a really nice position in that top 5, and then we see, unfortunately for Rugworth, starting inside the top 10. He was cruising along nicely in the championship as well, being consistently in the top 8, but unfortunately, especially with this wet race and maybe not so much practice running, he's only dropped himself down to 13th. So a lot of work for good old Rugworth, but he's still got a long way to go. He's only about 1.3 behind Flyboarding, the latest member signed for Robbo Sport Racing as well. So nicely presented cars that Robbo puts out, and Nightwalker 964 still outside the top 10. I feel like every time we've got our eyes on Nightwalker 964, DJ, he's always outside the top 10, but we know he's starting to improve. He's starting to improve his racing with these cars, but we always catch him in the wrong place, wrong time.
Yeah, I think having me and John and Venti and stuff like that, having Giz there as well helping it. It's kind of really, obviously he's racing for WRT in F2, but he's our reserve, so we've kind of been working with him and stuff like that. Obviously I'm still learning too, same as John, but we're trying to get him a little bit faster, showing where he can kind of improve the work and helping with him and setup. So we're just trying to see what we can do, but yeah, he's definitely got faster. He has had a couple of run-ins with me, but that's the past is the past, and we'll keep racing on. So just trying to see what we can. And he's actually been performing not too bad in the main series when he feels so 7th, 8th, and 9th so far. So that's pretty well for someone who obviously has no experience with the car and stuff like that. So
yeah,
obviously these guys are running lower power and heavy car too, so if this is anything to go by, what have we got in store?
Oh, exactly right. As we start going through the grid, we've still got Dargs and first Slappers in second. So he's actually pulled himself just under a 10-second gap over Slappers, mate. And Dargs is like, just like what Woods has just said in the chat, so like Dargs is doing a really good job avoiding the water puddles and keeping us straight. Exactly right. So Dargs knows what part of the track is able, well, where the car is at its limit, and he's doing himself a really solid job there in the Steel City MSR entry, with Slappers also doing the same job, a great job as well. He's doing the same, something very similar, and he's keeping a good gap over Cyric in third place. But I feel like Cyric's getting himself a little bit caught up with the battle. Actually, no, he was a little bit too far back. But I think this is the pack that we need to see. Lunacy, Gordon, and Asylum. Asylum decides to go for a move. Oh, a little bit of contact. Gordon just saw him at the last minute there. Gordon did not want to yield that position, and Asylum tries to go around the outside. The outside line, you probably get some better traction, and it looks like he's just got it through. Oh, a bit of contact. Wheel banging there, but Asylum's just got ahead of Gordon, 69 in the WRT entry and the Ultra Pack MSR. But as he drifting through that corner, through Dunlop corner, this is just going from bad to worse. Asylum 96, and he's just left the lobby. He's had enough, so that's a bit of a unfortunate rage quit Asylum there. But yeah, you can definitely see it as we see another retiree in Isuzu Brian also having a bit of unfortunate, unlucky circumstances in this weather as well. So for our drivers that are still hanging on there, and like we said, Gordon and Soul Reaper, especially in 5th and 6th for the WRT boys, is really solid, but Lunacy is really closing that gap. So if we could see this speed that Lunacy has got so far, we could see him actually maybe start to be a bit of an underdog in this championship, because I don't know, because in this so far, he's only filled in for three. He's filled in for 3 events. This is his 4th round filling in for Satellite Racing. He's been putting on some good performances. Unfortunate for his end in Brazil, but otherwise it's been a pretty good outing for Lunacy to be at least in solid in the top 8 in the main series.
Yeah, I've had good racing with him, and obviously I've always had good racing with him over at Project 1, but he filling in for Satellite, he's got the team manager at 5%, so anyone who's in under the wing of him, you definitely need to not take your eye off him, because he's got some very fantastic knowledge. I can obviously take that from experience with touring cars and stuff like that. Last year he's looked like it is certainly going to take it to the championship this year, but you can see Doug has got that 2-second gap there. Slappers is 10 seconds as well. And then we've got Siri, who's actually getting hunted. He's getting hunted by Lunacy, and Lunacy is on a mission. I did see him go purple for a second one, so we'll just keep an eye on him.
And he's got the fastest lap as well, with the 2 minute.
Commentator's curse.
A commentator's curse on Lunacy. This is not what the big bosses in Project 1 wanted to see, and not even 5%, but look, does he keep 4th place? Is he ahead? No, Gordon just sneaks past, and you could say a bit of a quiet assassin there for Gordon 69, just flying through, and he's not even put a foot wrong in this race as well, and he's holding himself up very nicely in the top 5 there, and it's a solid performance by the WRT's Gordon 69, especially even the guys in Soul Reaper, so 2 WRT cars in the top 8, so that's a solid performance by these guys. But we're not even at the halfway point, ladies and gentlemen. We've still got a lot of racing to go. No, exactly right, and as we see, Dargs is just still pulling away, Zarg 74, and now he's seen that Silent 96 has actually left the lobby. This possibly is going to give him the championship lead for Dark 74. Came in as a privateer last year, but I managed to coop him up and sign him into MSR, and he's looked like he's doing a solid job in first place for the newly formed what was Toll Mash Butts Racing to now Steel City Mash Butts Racing. It's looking a very nice livery there for Dark 74 and still leading the way. 12.9 seconds ahead of Slappers, but we can say as well Slappers is doing a very solid job as well in second place. He's not losing time, he's not really gaining too much time away from Cyric, but I do see Cyric is slowly catching, so Cyric might have a little bit of an answer to him maybe towards the end of the race, but Slappers is keeping it straight and putting on a solid performance for the WTCC boys.
Yeah, and obviously Slappers really make himself known, stuff like that. Jumps in the seat, does a bit of racing, that's fine, always, but he's been doing pretty well. So he's going as you would expect him to see. He's obviously got a lot of experience under his belt.
Exactly. I have a feeling the drivers are starting to get a little bit more comfortable in these conditions as we have about 10 laps of racing to go, but still leading the way is Dogs ahead of Slappers and Cyric. Lunacy has again gone past Gord at 69, and Rusty Nuts has come through in 6th place ahead of Soul Reaper and Ando 787, who had an early spin. I believe that was around about lap 6 or 7, and he's clawed himself back into the top 8. As we look at the boys at the back of the top 8, I believe we have Calypso in 9th place there, Night Walker in 10th, Rugworth still hanging on in 11th place, Fly Balding 072 in 12th place as we see him going for a bit of a rallycross there, DJ. Can he stop the car? He has done. He's done a very good job, but my goodness, when a car goes off like that at that speed, it gets pretty scary.
Yeah, it gets scary in the dry, let alone in the wet, but mate, that's a Honda race car, not a Honda lawnmower, so get it on the grass.
Good spotting there. And then we have Tormentor rounding out the top 10 with 2 DNFs in Isuzu Brian 86 and Xylon 96, the championship leader, coming into round 4, which looks like it's going to be going towards Dark 74 now after that DNF. But so far he's still maintaining a good gap. He's not putting in fast lap times, and he doesn't really need to, because he knows the gap that he's got. He knows he's just that little bit quicker than Slappers, and he just needs to keep it on the tarmac, and he will be able to claim victory for round 4. But still early days, and we just want to, if we can probably, I know you can't, but if we can keep trying to see if we can get an onboard of Dargs, if we can keep trying. But if not, that's all good. Just going to see if we can go for hot lap.
It's broken. It is broken.
Unless you assigned a different button for onboard viewing, I'm not sure.
No, it's a one change.
Okay.
That's why it keeps holding up. Yeah, nothing's happening, and it's just broken as anything is with this game. And in latest news as well, I don't know if anyone noticed, we have had the current world champion for Gran Turismo actually step back from GT7 because of the state of the game. So if that's not anything to go by, I don't think you'll be having people on the game very shortly. I mean, we're trying to do what we can, but if your current world champion isn't wanting to play, mate, play your own game, that's definitely saying something. I think we should start listening to the fans. I know we're a bit league here in Australia, but we're just trying to see what we can do. But yeah, maybe you should start listening to your world champion and ex-champions and stuff like that.
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, we did see that. Obviously, the game is not really esports ready, and I feel like because the World Tour will probably start to be kicking off very shortly, and obviously people are doing the World Tours via their consoles and trying to connect with lobbies and Gran Turismo lobbies. Yeah. Plus they're missing a lot of features with replay cameras and all that kind of a lot of lobby stuff. So yeah, it's a bit of a sad state to see, like drivers like Valeria Gallo and other main drivers like Coque Lopez and then Miyazono and a few other of the top talent drivers all stepping back from the game because of this state. Yeah, Polyphony and Gran Turismo definitely need to keep an eye on what the situation is going on, because so far they've given us, you know, I would say like not a bad platform, but it's a long way to go for GT7 to be competitive in esports.
Yeah, at the moment, to be honest, I think as well, that's also why we haven't seen the likes of Blood and Tate as well. They haven't really jumped in because they, same as Jono, we got Captain Risky too, so we have had them previously around in the past. They did enjoy it, but they're not fans of GT7 as it sits at the moment. They're all playing FIFA and other stuff like that, so that's also another reason why we haven't seen them around.
Yeah, exactly. I've just got a comment from Woods as well, just saying to turn your mic up a little bit because he thinks it's a little bit quiet.
Yeah, I did see that. It's because the last time it was streamed, it was through Adam, and the voices are a bit.
Okay.
The levels are a bit off. So
Yep.
Fix everything back up to where it was. So I think it's just loud as it goes.
Yeah, exactly right. That's all good. But if I'm just trying to see on the leaderboard if any moves to say, because I've seen Lunacy drop back down as low as 8th place now, so he's also had another off. I want to try and see what his lap looks like. It's at about lap 10, 2 minute 19, and versus probably what was the previous lap of 2 minute 2. So he definitely lost time, maybe had a bit of an off there. It's getting a little bit pressured by Soul Reaper, who's about 2 seconds behind. Nightwalker in the 10th, Rugworth still in 11th. And we have the rest of the boys down in 12th and 13th, which I think is Fly Boarding and Torment, who's closed that gap on Boarding, who had a monumental off. Oh, as we just caught the back end of Dargs there. I don't know if that was a half spin or if it was just him executing and trying to go around the corner, but that did look a little bit sketchier. But the wind has picked up massively, DJ. One of the, if the crosswind is playing a bit of effect, it's gone about 9.2 kilometers an hour from west to east, and that's probably having an effect on Darks' performance, and maybe just a little bit of unsteady stability in his car as that time just goes down slightly between him and Slappers.
Yeah, I did. I'm kind of keeping an eye a little bit on the map there, so I couldn't see anyone, but I did catch the end of it. It looks like he might have got a bit taily on the exit, but yeah, that is definitely something to keep an eye on, which is obviously a new feature in which actually does make a lot of difference. But if we keep going, there's another spinner. Is it there? Nightwalker. Yeah, he's starting to catch the back of one corner away, so it's a little bit of a straight. Yeah, he's got 6 laps to go, so time difference was, I think, what are they doing? 202s to 204, 205, so it's 3 seconds a lap faster, so I wonder if we'll catch him.
Yeah, and as we said with these boys as well, there is no compulsory pit stop for these guys, and it looks like they're all going right towards the end, and not even their sweats have been worn out, so it's pretty good tyre management from these boys, and especially in the wet, because you're trying to keep the car on the track, and obviously the traction can come a little bit loose. You would think a little bit of tyre wear would come through, and obviously you can see some drivers having a bit of tyre wear trying to get the power down. But it looks like from what Darks is doing, just taking that wide line, which I feel like is very important, especially in wet racing, just trying to take that go-kart line. He looks like he's executing that very perfectly, and he's got very minimal tyre wear to be solidly in first place, with Slappers still holding on in second place. I'm not so sure how far Sirik is away from Slappers, mate. He's actually gained some time. A little bit, but not so much, not to make a big difference, but he's got a huge gap over Gordok, 69 in 4th place, and Ando 787 in 5th, with Rusty Nut 75 in 6th, Calypso in 7th, and Lunacy, unfortunately for him, to be down in 8th place. We probably could have seen him actually challenging Dark 74 for the win this evening after getting that pole position out of nowhere, the first driver to be in the 59s for Lunacy. So that's something that might give him a bit of confidence leading into the main series later on this evening.
Yeah, who's smart? Gordo.
Oh, Gordo. Gordon's gone to have a bit of an off there, and he's just trying to take that. Looks like he tried to take that kink a little bit too fast, or a little maybe just caught a puddle there, and that's just ruined his race there for what was from 4th position all the way down to 8th. And it is so unlucky for Gordon because he just runs wide through the curbing there. And this is not what the boss in Warpath 360 wanted to see. His top driver, or the top driver in WRT, was Gordon 69 in 4th place. But unfortunately for him, he just had a moment there. And all of his drivers are just outside the top 8, with Soul Reaper only being in 8th place, and with Gordon in 9th, and then Nightwalker in 10th. But that has promoted Ando 787. I don't know where he's come from, but he's still kept his car on the track, and he's still holding on to 4th place here. So if this was a if it all stays where he is, he'll be obviously automatic entry into the next rounds Formula 2 racing if he stays in 4th place. But we've seen a lot of drivers have a bit of an off, and you know, you can never say never. As we see Calypso in 5th place, he might be hunting him down. He might be hunting Ando down along with Rusty Nuts and Lunacy in 7th place.
Yeah, Lunacy is definitely on charge here. He has done another 207 to there, but I think he might need to just get his head down, screw his helmet, tighten his helmet back up, tighten his face back up, head down, and get back to the field, because he knows he's got the pace. But sometimes if you try and overuse the pace, you definitely overdrive the car, and that's when you start to make mistakes. As you can see, he made probably 3 or 4 mistakes so far in the race, and that is the way he's in 7th there. So I know I'm not the fastest driver, but I do know myself that if you try and push the car too much, then Rusty Nuts goes a bit wide there. So I'm not sure if that was a bit of off on and a bit of confusion there from Lunacy, but as I say that, there it is again.
Oh, it's just not working. It's not working for Lunacy. Whatever lines he's trying to take, it's either getting heavier, or he's just trying to find a line that, or just trying to find a line, or just catch us a puddle. And it's just not working for Lunacy this evening in Formula 2. So he's got to keep his head down and just try and focus for satellite racing and trying to get some points for the main series boys in the main series of Formula Racing, as we still see Dark 74 actually do overtake Fly Balding there. So it looks like he has also had another off, because he was ahead of Tormentor, who's in 12th place. So through his times, he had 2:14 and 2:18. So it looks like, yeah, he had a bit of an off there with a PB of 2:06. So at least you could say some of the drivers are still hanging on to the tyres. Obviously, there are a few drivers that are struggling a little bit for tyre wear there. So we see Nightwalkers, who's had plenty of offs. He's got a little bit of wear on his rears, and then we look towards other drivers towards the front, especially. Maybe I would think maybe somebody like Lunacy could have a bit of tyre wear, because he's also had a few offs in his quest as well.
Yeah, but has barely used his tyres. That tyre wear is just pretty much non-existent. So that's
yeah, he is getting caught by Cyric there. So I think I did see Cyric there just go on a purple sector there, and he's making a charge towards Slappers, but Slappers is keeping his head down, keeping a consistent lap. So we have an MSR as we see yellow flags up ahead. Who's that? That's not Dargs, that's Fly Boarding. So that's a bit of a close call there for myself, but Fly Boarding has just gone a little bit off there. But yeah, I was just saying Cyric is closing up as we see an MSR 1 WTCC in 2nd, and then another MSR in 3rd, and then Ando and WTCC in 4th, with Devlin Calypso for the ICE Racing Group in 5th place, Rusty Nuts for Robo Sport in 6th, Lunacy from Project 1 in 7th place, Gordon 69 for WRT, the first of the WRT boys in 8th place, Soul Reaper in 9th, and Nightwalker rounding up the top 10 all from WRT, with Rugworth unfortunately having not some good luck in his racing in 11th place, Tormentor in 12th, and then Boarding in 13th, and we've only got about 4.5 laps to go, DJ. So I feel like we don't want to call it just yet, but I feel like it's going to be a Dargs, Slappers and Cyric's podium, but obviously never say never as this race continues on, as I feel like it's getting a little bit heavier now. So we can see drivers like Lunacy and Rugworth, they're just making a few mistakes, and even we saw Balding as well. So I wonder if that rain, look at that, you can see it on the camera as well, it's just it's blowing so many directions.
Yeah, well the wind speed has actually picked up. It's now 10.5 meters per second, so that's pretty much, I think, double from when we started the race. So
wow,
that'll be definitely Rusty goes really wide there in the rain. grip out there because he's low up, so he's not going to be running that line.
See Lunacy's finally trying to make the move on Rusty Nuts, and I don't know how many moves he's made on Rusty, but he's trying to fight back Rusty Nuts. But he still takes 6th place. It's a bit of a battle that they're going on. As you see, actually Devlin actually catching up. I don't know if that's Devlin catching up to Ando 787 or a lapped car, but if that's Ando,
Ando's made a mistake there. He's done a 2:14 last lap, so he's had a bit of a spin, so he's lost time to Sirik. But Sirik's also catching slappers. But Dogs is... Oh no, he's spun!
oh, Dogs has gone off, and as we see a yellow flag, does Slappers overtake him and take the lead of the race? Oh, as he starts to go side by side, and we see Slappers 117 take the lead of this round 4 of Trackstars Formula 2 Championship race, and Slappers 117, after a costly mistake by Dark 74, has taken the lead with 3 laps to go. DJ, my goodness, I said we didn't want to call it. Obviously, one mistake for Dark's makes, and it has taken him from being in the lead to 2nd place. As we see a little bit of lag from Slappers, and Darks is trying to get himself, trying to rue the day that he lost that 1st place, but he's got only a few more laps to go to try and reclaim that 1st place. But wow, that is incredible stuff.
Yeah, that really is. I seen a blue and then a yellow when I jumped to Slappers. Yeah, that's incredible. That's very unfortunate there for Dark. So that was a 2:17, so that's a very late spin and late recovery. But I'm wondering if keeps going. Sirik might join in because he's done a 204, 204, 204, 203. He's done constant laps. He's really putting in the paces there. But the other thing is, Darks has not touched one slid up the bottom.
There you go. So so he's tough. He hasn't used it at all. Obviously, it's helped him, but he's now drifting further back from Slappers. He's about 2 seconds, just over 2 seconds behind Slappers, mate. 117. And could this be the day that we see Slappers take the victory with only about 2.5 laps to go? We don't want to call it, like I said, we don't want to call things early because we thought Dogs was going to win the event. Of course, Dogs was going to win the race, but obviously things change in a matter of moments, DJ.
Definitely, but Oz Tormentor's taken a real wide line there. But what's this gap? This gap is at 2.2, so that is really close, and he's gone real wide there. So will we see Slappers make 117 take his 1st win in Trackstars history?
It could be the 1st win for Slappers mate 117, but we don't want to count out Dogs. We know how consistent he's been. Just one lap and one mistake just cost it all for Dark 74, and obviously we hope that the main series boys will also be keeping an eye on this race as well, just to try and think that maybe, just maybe, that they may have to think about doing a pit stop, because if tyre wear is involved in any form, possibly we could be seeing a tyre change in main series. But as we see, leading the way on lap 18 of 19, only 2 laps to go, ladies and gentlemen, we have Slappers 117 in 1st with Dark 74 in 2nd, and with late drama for Dark 74, and he looks like he's just closing in, but then just loses out in tractions compared to Slappers, with Sirik in 3rd, Ando 787 in 4th, Lunacy in 5th, Calypso in 6th, Rusty and Gordock rounding up the top 8. But we don't want to keep our eyes off the front runners, because we have Slappers mate 117 leading this race with only about 1 3/4 off the race to go.
Yeah, well, Sirik gets a half-second penalty there, so he might have done a bit of a corner cut through turn 1, 2, 3, 4 there, so it's not hard to do. But yeah, that's very unfortunate there for Darks. He was running a very solid race, keeping his nose out of trouble, running some consistent laps, and that's what he said, he was driving so well he was. But that's just as simple as having one with the spin. And I have been keeping an eye on him. He has been running 4th, 5th gear out of the hairpin there, so that's more or less, you can see there from 4th gear. Try and keep that the revs down on that car so it doesn't spin. So the main series guy will take note of that. Probably not, because we're just going to send it.
Exactly. Yeah, we never know what's going to happen in the main series. Obviously, coming up later on in the main series, we see Sirik and both Dogs struggling for traction, and their tyres are just not holding on whatsoever, and Slappers is pulling away. Obviously, Ando's a fair chunk away from the boys in the top 3. But the MSR boys with their tyre wear is just not working for them, and it's just not holding on. So this is going to be very crucial with only 1 lap to go. Can Slappers mate break the hoodoo of MSR getting 3 wins in a row? Can he break that streak? Can he win for WTCC. We only have 1 lap to go, ladies and gentlemen, to conclude round 4 of the Trackstars Formula 2 Championship with Slappers Mate 117 leading ahead of Dark 74 in second, Cyric in third, and Ando in fourth, making a WTCC and MSR top 4 with Lunacy. Unfortunately for him, he's closing up too. Ando 787 in 5th place there, so that will be an interesting pack to see towards the end of the race, but it's only a matter of time until we see a winner between Slappers and Darks. As we see, Cyric actually takes 2nd place there, so Darks has had another off. He actually has, and he's gone off into turn 1, so it's just his day's just gone from bad to worse. Dark 74, and I believe unless Slappers makes a big mistake and a huge take slapper from Cyric. Only 1 mistake from Slappers and his race is over. But my goodness, how things changed over the last couple of laps, DJ.
Yeah, certainly. Obviously, it's wet, bad enough as it is. Now 10.8 meters per second, so that weather's gotten just worse. And yeah, that's gone from bad to worse there for Darks, which is very unfortunate to see. Keeping his nose out of trouble and having such a good race. So, but that's racing for you, and we'll see. It looks like he's made another mistake.
He's also and he's just not finding it whatsoever. Just these conditions, obviously, it gives him confidence for the main series. But if he just keeps making mistakes, just try to get the car planted on the ground there. But he's just have a bit of an up and down day after scoring pole position. But there's one driver that hasn't been phased at all this evening. It is Slappers Mate 117 coming towards the back end of the track for the final time. Just has to execute the chicane nice and steady, and just making sure you get that braking zone in and try to make sure you don't clip too many curves. Don't put the power down too early. And if he takes a nice corner into the final corner, DJ, we're going to be having a new race winner in the Formula 2 Championship, and it's going to belong to Slappers Mate 117 from WTCC. Takes a victory and line honours in 1st place here at the German Grand Prix, with Cyric in 2nd place in his MSR VL Racing. A good way to send off his F2 racing for a little while, but unfortunately we have to talk about this guy, DJ. Dark 74. He had at least 13 seconds over Slappers Mate 117, and in the space of 2 laps just jumps into the back end of the podium.
Yeah, it was very unfortunate there. I feel for Darks because I know how hard it is to lose it there and make a mistake. But I guess that's racing, and you just go back to the drawing board, focus on a bit more practice for next weekend. But you win some, you lose some. Unfortunately, Darks lost it out on here, so that's racing, and good work there on Slappers getting his first win in Trackstars. So pretty happy for him. And obviously it's good to see. So see if he can screw his helmet on properly for the main series and just over.
Absolutely, and we see Calypso in 5th place, so a nice drive there from the Belgium in 5th place. Lunacy in 6th. Nice solid drive there for Ando 787 in 4th. Rusty Nuts debuting in the Robosport Racing Formula in 7th place. Gorok 69. He was looking so good for a top 4, but just one mistake on that in the fast kick at the back straight just all but ruined his chances of claiming a top 4. With his teammate in Soul Reaper in 9th, Nightwalker 964 had a bit of a torrid time, and he's still having a torrid time. And my goodness, we got all of our drivers come through. Obviously, that is the end of the race. Yeah, I think that's a bit of a short timer there, but that's all right. Make sure we save that replay. Yep, solid.
Save. Well done. Yeah, that didn't come up because it was on a minute and a half. I should have extended it, but well, we'll go on to the results there.
That's all right. But my goodness, and every time we've seen a car go spinning around and doing 360, doing half donuts, doing full donut, 20 no scopes, but one driver that hasn't done any of that, it was Slappers Mate 117 taking the victory and line honours here for Trackstars Formula 2 round 4 of the German Grand Prix in a very soaking wet Nurburgring Grand Prix. And my goodness, DJ, if there's anything to go by in the main series, we've got to keep our belts stuck. We've got to strap in our belts a little bit tight. We've got to make sure we clean the visors, get a white visor, as Felipe Massa would famously say, and just pray that we don't spit the cars.
Yeah, mate, I'm not putting my hat on anything. I've definitely got my work cut out for me. Same as is there anyone that is going to stop Woodsy from getting a three-peat? So that's we'll wait and see, I guess. So we'll see what
Yeah,
happens.
absolutely. But obviously on a sour note for Dogs not taking the victory, at least he does take the championship lead ahead of Cylon 96 there. So it's obviously a little bit of a little glimmer of a shining light for him after having a bit of a disappointing round 4 for him. But at least he takes the championship lead. But he's obviously he's obviously in a way you got to think about the big picture. But obviously that little thing about taking a victory just means something else as well.
Yeah, especially being in your first victory and being in the wet. That's definitely something that's even bittersweet than what it would be just with a standard victory. So it's big congratulations to him and WTCC for also getting the win for his team there. So he'll take that, chuck that in the mate into the trophy cabinet, and he'll go on his little merry way. He might have a big night tonight.
Absolutely, he's probably going to have a big sleep. He's going to have a bit of a celebration with the WTCC boys, probably on their Discord. But yeah, as we wrap up the evening, thank you so much for tuning in for our Formula 2 coverage here. So stay tuned in an hour's time. We'll bring you live for Formula Track Stars here at the Nurburgring Grand Prix. It is still belting down, DJ. I'm going to have to make sure I've got some waterproof race overalls because my goodness, I'm going to get so drenched in an hour's time. But in the meantime, thank you so much for tuning in for our Formula 2 coverage, and we'll see you guys next week for round 5 at the Red Bull Ring. Stay tuned, but for now, stay tuned for a round